We are so back, baby. We're going to talk about Octavio Dotel. We're going to talk about Yohel Pozo, I don't know what his name is, and Sacramento and everything else, because all three of us finally back on the same stream. It's time for the Team of Rivals podcast. Here we come, folks.
It's a trap!
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
This is the Team of Rivals podcast.
Everything you want to hear from the big sports to the big screen.
He's all by himself, fires into the end zone. Touchdown! No!
On into the windup in his first offering. Just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed.
Doesn't like you. I don't like you either.
Time winding down. Michael for three. Yes! She is gone!
I don't believe what I just saw!
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
You believe in miracles? Yes!
You may fire when ready.
What?
Good evening, Cubs and Cardinals fans, and welcome to the Team of Rivals podcast. It is Tuesday, April 8th, and here we go. We're back. It's so exciting, and I was all ready to talk about something else, but then I looked to my right as the intro music was playing, and I saw Bruce Bochy waddle out to the mound. Fellas, he does not look healthy. I just gotta say. You can follow us on social media, Team of Rivals Pod. For those of you who prefer to watch the show, we also live stream on X, YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble. So hit the like and subscribe buttons and be sure notifications are on so that you know anytime we post new content. Joining me for this week's show, co-founder of TOR and still number 171 in the top 2024 edition of C70's Top Cards on Twitter. I've been away too long, Ron Nuttall, and our permanent guest host, Elliott Dewey. Fellas, it's good to be back. It's good to see your smiling faces, and it's good not to have, a guest monopolizing the conversation. God damn it, this is our time. This is our time. It's their time up there, but it's our time down here. For any of you who are in your 40s, 50s, you know the reference. Guys, how you been?
Now that you say that, I just want to mention one thing. That now that we're in this age where I guess Hollywood storytellers really can't come up with a lot of original stuff, I'm going to be pissed whenever they decide to remake The Goonies.
I thought
it's already in the works.
It's in the works. Yeah, so I
it is
pre-production.
You cannot recreate perfection. You cannot repaint the Sistine Chapel.
Are they recreate? Is it a remake or is it a sequel?
Or is it a new modern
sequel? Here you go. Sequel, not a remake. AI overview. The Goonies, sequel to The Goonies, not a remake, is officially in development at Warner Brothers with Steven Spielberg and Chris Columbus returning to produce. The original writer, Patsy Ponsaroli, is also hired to write the script. So that's not the worst thing in the world, that you basically have the whole leadership team. The only person missing, obviously, is the director, Richard Donner.
Okay, I can live with that. I think all those kid actors are still there, including Josh Brolin. They're still with us.
Yeah, I believe every single one of the kids are still alive.
They're still alive. Whoever played Data.
Wait, no, you're right. Corey Feldman, no. Corey Haim wasn't in it. Yeah, no, we've got everybody.
Corey Feldman, Corey Haim.
Yeah, I got my Corey's mixed up. Yeah, no, Corey Haim wasn't the lead. That was Sean Astin.
But I can't remember the sloth actor. He was a football player, and I can't remember his name.
John Matuzak.
John Matuzak. Rest in peace, sir. Including the Where's the Beef lady.
Yeah, she's gone. But although Robert Davi Robert Davi has subsequently established himself as both a frequent recurring mafia actor and also as something of a torch song singer. He's still alive and kicking, and so he may be able to reprise his role as one of the Fratellis.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I would absolutely love that.
And Joey Pants is still alive. He was the other brother.
Yeah.
So between Joey and Robert, they could provide the antagonists for this sequel.
You can't recast Mama Fratelli. You got to leave.
You can't.
No.
But you acknowledge, that both she and Sloth have passed on, but you got to bring the Fratellis back as your antagonists, and I think the kids have to start it, but the kids got to finish it.
Maybe they'll execute passing the torch on a little bit more effectively than the Star Wars sequel. Maybe
I was just about to go there.
Hopefully.
Great minds.
Enough people have seen the failure. Okay, you know what? A sequel, I could live with that. But if they were going to reboot or remake or do whatever Hollywood does, no, please don't do that.
No, you would think that by now Hollywood has learned its lesson from the steady decline of the live action remakes that are being produced.
Oh my God! Isn't that
by Disney?
Awful? Been awful.
It just keeps getting worse, right? Like the quality gets worse and the box office gets worse.
And I can't think of one of those where they've done a live action version of a classic animation that's actually been better.
No,
there's not one of them that's been better.
Well, I think the Jungle Book is generally recognized as the best of them.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
But I don't think that any of them is viewed as being better.
No, well, I'll tell you about that movie, and I've watched it a couple times. My daughter, she loves that one. But I think she's watched the animated version more than the live action.
Of course, because it's better.
But I got to tell you, Christopher Walken's
Shere Khan.
No, not Shere Khan.
The snake. Oh, he played the game. Right? See, I haven't seen it. I don't know who plays who.
No, Louis, King Louis or whatever.
King Louis. Yep.
Yeah, King Louis. His performance on King Louis. Now he did the voice of it, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. I thought that was pretty. I got to say, if there's one character I felt was better than the original,
really,
I got to say King Louis, Christopher Walken's version of that. The music I thought was pretty good.
I tell you what, since you mentioned that, maybe I'll have to. Maybe I'll reactivate my Disney Plus subscription so that I can watch it.
Or just go to iTunes and just rent that one.
Well, the reason that I said that is because obviously I didn't get to play an April Fool's joke on you guys last week. So there's my contribution.
Well, it doesn't work when it's a week later.
I mean, if you do it now would be a good time because Andor season 2 is coming out on the 22nd. And you would only have to do it for a month because they're doing it 3 episodes, the way that they're releasing it.
Well, that is great news, Elliott. Thank you. I'll not get right on that after the show.
Okay.
Did you didn't see the season 1 Andor? Correct?
Yeah, I did.
You did?
I did. My subscription ran out. I think if I remember correctly, there were 2 episodes left. No, there were 2 episodes left. I never actually saw the end of season 1.
He missed the best line part of dialogue I've ever heard.
Oh my God. It is amazing.
Did I play that one on here?
Which one?
I think so.
Did I? The elevator.
The Empire? Scene? Oh, no. I did see the Empire scene. The elevator?
No,
yeah. I saw the
elevator scene. Yes, the elevator scene.
Maybe that wasn't the last 2 episodes. That was the One Way Out.
Whatever the elevator monologue was the last one that I saw. That was the last episode I saw.
How could you have stopped it after that one?
Because I would have had to pay for another year. I was tired of paying for that shit. And I will tell you that my decision was justified by the dreck that they subsequently turned out after Andor.
But you can do it by month, you fool.
My money has been well spent in other directions.
All right, fine.
And in other endeavors.
I'm done talking about this kind of stuff with you. On to baseball.
You're not. You're not going to let it go. Where do we want to start?
Well, we kind of, I think last week, as I had to take the controls here in the Rumble studio, which
that was entertaining, by the way.
I did not enjoy.
I could hear it in your voice.
Yeah, I was like disdain, pretty much. I was like, I think I'll just do a Zoom this week. I'll just do a Zoom and we won't bother. But I did anyway. We just gave kind of our first impression, and with a caveat, man, it's really dangerous judging anything 3 or 4 games in. It's for me, it's 40 games in, 1 quarter of the season, and you've kind of got an idea. I think all of us are on the same page of that, but I think it was just the first, opening weekend. What did we see? What did we like? What did we dislike? And now we've got another week worth of games, and I've got some, let's say this, concerns. But
really
get into it later.
Definitely not in the catcher spot, because that has been the one bright spot.
It doesn't matter who we throw back there, right?
As long as it's not Wilson Contreras, you're going to get production.
Well, they were dangerously
production
close.
and defense.
They were dangerously close on the doubleheader, having to consider putting him back there, though. Being injured in the first game.
Yeah, boy, does that not tell you where they're at on that? That it clearly didn't even cross their minds to have him strap on the tools of ignorance.
Well, but then they're entered the stage Pozo, which I do want to.
Who? Who the fuck? Thank you, Ron, for bringing that 5 minutes of scrolling into my life last night.
It was worth it, wasn't it?
It was totally worth it.
Now, I will tell you in full transparency, I don't like to, we have huge fans of the Cardinals minor leaguers that probably knew enough about him.
Of course.
But for those that, my focus is going to be on the major league team. It always has. And I'll know of the top 10 because I'll hear about it. I had no idea this guy was even in the system.
But apparently there was a feature in the Athletic in 2021. I saw the lead.
Texas, right?
That apparently he had recently been homeless with his family.
Yeah, that's okay.
And then sent to the minors for Texas, and he hits a home run for the Cardinals. And I mean, just based on that, I think immediate inclusion in our beer league all-stars, right?
I think showing up to the game was enough for me to include him in the beer league all-stars.
I mean, he's really pushing Hector Villanueva for that starting catcher spot.
That's a contest, isn't it? I mean,
it is, man. They're probably between the two of them, they're pushing 600 pounds.
Oh yeah, easy. Like we don't weight shame on here. I mean, I've had my body issues. Trust me. My dad body
at
came
least
in
25 pounds over where I should be right now.
My dad body came in great. Ozempic. That seems to be the answer. And yes, for those wondering, will Ozempic eventually kill me? Yes, it will. That's my thought anyway. Of course it's going to. Back to baseball.
Well, I will tell you, I agree. I think it's a little too early to make any definitive judgments, and this can kind of be our segue into last week. But I would say at this point in the season, and Elliott, correct me if you've seen differently. The one word that I would use, at least for the Cubs offense, is relentless. Like,
for real.
And this is not entirely Kyle Tucker. They are
taking pitches, fouling pitches off. It is. I don't know what's changed between this year and last year, because besides Kyle Tucker, this is mostly the same team that was rolled out last year. And it's not even like you have guys hitting the cover off the ball. I mean, you've got PCA hitting around 200, Shaw hitting around 200, Dansby hitting like 230, 225.
Although he's got two dingers 2 nights in a row. Oh no, he didn't hit one last night.
He hit one tonight, and he had another single or double, he had a couple hits tonight. I mean, but the guys are taking pitches. They're putting 70 pitches on the starting pitcher by the 4th inning.
I mean, the game that we were at, I was stunned that Luis Severino went as deep as he did. He went 6 innings. He threw 107 pitches. That's
because the night before they went through the entire bullpen for the most part, and then did it again the 3rd night.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, to see in these first 2 weeks of baseball, 2 weeks. I really don't want to count the Dodgers series, even though we have to. I'm not particularly concerned about the offense this year, at least from what I've seen so far, because they've scored in a variety of ways.
Yeah,
and they scored 4 runs in the 8th.
Right. And
Last year's
they're doing
Cubs
it
team was
without
not
homers.
scoring. Last year's Cubs team was not scoring 4 runs in an inning unless they hit a home run.
Hey guys, let me throw this out to you here.
Sure.
We're talking about the offense for both teams, and I echo some of what you guys are saying for the Cardinals in terms of offense, right? Guess who has the most hits in Major League Baseball?
Well, I know the Cubs have the most walks.
Well, let's say the Cubs have the most hits. They have 125.
Do they
They
really?
also have the most steals.
Guess who has the second most hits?
Is
You
it
stay
the
in my
Cardinals?
Yankees.
Elliott. You stay in my lane right now. The Cardinals have the second most hits in Major League Baseball at 117.
Oh shit!
Average. I know. Hey, disclaimer: average is not a real stat.
No.
Nope, it's not.
Fuck you guys. Team batting average. St. Louis Cardinals 291, leading baseball.
And yet they're 5 and 6.
They're 5 and 6, but that's the other side of the coin, Pete, that we haven't got to yet.
Yeah.
The Cubs have had.
You got to prevent the other team from scoring runs.
The Cubs have, while they may have not had like spectacular over the top Paul Skeens like staff full of Atlanta Braves in the mid 90s, right. They've at least had average to good pitching, and that's
I would say the Cubs starting pitching has been solid. And
scored more runs than the Yankees, by the way.
Yeah, I know. And I feel now with the caveat the Cubs have played 2 more games than anybody else other than the Dodgers. But also
it's not like they scored that many runs during those Dodgers games either.
You guys, let me shock you on this one, right? So the Dodgers have scored 63 runs this year. The Cubs have scored 92.
The Cubs currently have the highest run differential in Major League Baseball as well. I think as of yesterday, it was plus 28.
But
so that would put him at plus 32 now.
But differential. Anyway,
right.
But the Cubs have had above average pitching. I wouldn't say it's stellar or great so far, but it's been above average, and it's given their team a chance to stay in games or win games, and that's where they have differed from the Cardinals. The Cardinals pitching bullpen is around 5.5 for their ERA. The starting rotation is around 6.
Is a disaster.
Difference. Yep. They're dead last in team ERA right now. 30th.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because for all the angst,
30th in ERA, and there's nothing more Cardinals in this decade.
Yeah, it's a complete flip of the Cardinals' reputation, right? They were always pitching in defense, and now apparently they're an offensive team.
Well, here's the thing. Again, we'll go with the caveat. It's too early to tell anything right now.
Yep.
And so, how I feel about the Cardinals' offense at this point, it's a collection of guys that don't know any better right now. They are being aggressive, and the one thing I have noticed that's different. And guys, in 30 games from now, I could be telling you the exact opposite. Okay, but for right now, what I'm seeing is a lot of at bats where guys aren't starting off 0-2 or 1-2, and that's what I constantly was seeing over the last 3 years. And now I'm seeing guys be a little bit more aggressive early on the count, sometimes foolishly, but a little bit more aggressive. Mason Wynn is starting to hit. Wilson Contreras has not started to hit yet, but that's one. You guys know him as well.
He's a warm weather hitter.
Yeah, he will. I think that will correct itself. Now, that may not make a difference in the world, but the pitching is one thing they'll have to figure out. From the bullpen, they got a couple guys that have been lit up a lot. And so I think the Memphis Express will be healthy, and that'll be up and running probably starting, if not this month, in May. And the real question is, what are they going to do about the rotation? Because barring injuries to Steven Matz, which you can probably write one down, it's coming. Miles Michaelis has looked completely awful. Sonny Gray looked a little bit. By the way, they beat Paul Skeens today.
I know. Hung 5 runs on him, more runs than anybody has scored on him.
And of course, in absolute Cardinals fashion, a pitcher I had not heard of. I think he was a reliever. They pitched 2 relievers last night. Kind of shut him down early on. So I mean, that's
it is the Pirates.
It's the Pirates. But so I've seen some good and bad. Obviously, the pitching is a area for concern. But the offense, I like what I've seen so far, but I expect it to regress, and they will be an average offensive team. They won't stay at the top of the league.
Well, at least they won't finish last in the division again, right?
Well, again, the caveat is it's too early.
I know. Ron, those may be my favorite 3 words out of your mouth.
Which ones?
It's too early.
It's too early. It's too early to get excited. It's too early to get depressed. Like both of these things could go either way. The pitching could figure out a few things. I like most, I think mainstream Cardinals fans would have loved to have seen, a couple of the younger pitchers get a chance to crack the rotation. But we'll see how this all plays out. I'm tepid, but it has been entertaining, and I did have to force myself yesterday to drop the money on MLB TV, which I was very reluctant to do, but I did it because it expired on Sunday. So I had to, and no shit. There was a score in the game last night. Pay my $150, and it took a while for the app on Apple TV, the big TV I had, to recognize. By the time it recognized it and I was able to turn the game on, no shit, 4-0 Pirates.
Good times.
Yeah.
Elliott, obviously we don't go on to get too far ahead of ourselves.
Nope.
It's too early, but I think it's 9-6 now? No, 9-5 now.
9-5.
9-5. So
taking the first two from Texas, who came in at 8-1.
Yep. Just like they handed the Padres their first two losses. So
correct.
What concerns you?
Should have been 3. It's the same thing as last year. It's the bullpen. There's a small circle of trust where you're going to get a lot of Porter Hodge, Merriweather, and Stressley Presley. That's going to go out there and pitch, 7, 8, 9 or 8, 9, depending on how far our starters can go. But Ray looked good the other night, even though it was kind of in a blow up, but you like to see the fact that he sat him down 1, 2, 3 without much stress. Yep. Keller has looked, serviceable. So, there'll be some, I'm sure within the next week or two, we'll start to see some movement between guys in Iowa coming up and being tried out. Probably some phantom injuries with some of the guys who aren't performing well in the bullpen. Right now that's kind of my, oh God, the other night, Gage Workman, man, he looked like the AA guy, just swinging at whatever, but not even coming close. He looked way overmatched the other night.
Yep. But to be fair,
but we still have Brujan waiting in the wings.
Yep. And to be fair, PCA looked overmatched when he first came up, right? Miguel Amaya, it took him a while to adjust. So
yeah,
let's see what happens.
Yeah, this is the first time I got to watch him watching at bat. Maybe that was his first at bats that he finally got to see, is making that spot start the other night, or spot starts at the start. At third, so who knows? But weirdly enough, I think the coolest thing that we have seen so far this year is the total aggressiveness of base stealing by the Cubs.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
It has absolutely changed the way that this offense performs, and it's changed the way that I think guys are taking their at bats, because maybe there was so much pressure to hit home runs and to hit the long ball or hit doubles that made these guys press a little bit more. And now that you're seeing guys taking all these walks, getting over to second base, a couple of these guys are stealing third. Birdie the other night did that. Walked, stole second, stole third, little bloop, got him home for a run. So it's been super cool. It's almost like old school baseball. It's fun to watch. There's a lot of action on the field. I've liked the time so far with the Cubs. Now, not saying that this team's gonna overproduce or whatever. There's things that need to happen. So
yeah, I can't say that I disagree much with your assessment. Presley, I will say Presley and God, I'm completely blanking on his name. Oh, Hector Neris. It hasn't felt nearly as stressful as it was with the Hector Neris experience.
Oh my
last year,
God.
right?
Yeah.
Like it almost feels like Presley is getting his legs back under him for closing, right? Because he didn't close
Maybe.
last year. He
Yeah.
was a setup man. So he wasn't in it. I haven't felt nearly as worried about it when he's gotten himself into trouble as I was when Neris did, and Neris just couldn't find the strike zone, right? Presley's just been a little bit too hittable sometimes so far this year. But I will say it's felt kind of nice to feel confident about the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings. And how many teams can honestly say that they feel good about their long and middle relief? I mean, that's why those guys are in long and middle relief, is because they're not good enough to be starters. They're not good enough to be the back end guys. So you're going to get clunkers out of them. So I think the bullpen is the whole right now. But I don't feel like it's panic time. And no. I will say, and it was definitely the experience also being in the ballpark. There is a palpable sense of the Cubs, their aggressiveness on the base pass, and not just in stealing bases, but in correctly taking the extra base, and doing so successfully. Like you can feel it in the ballpark. You feel that something is going to happen when a Cubs, when a hitter gets on base, that something is going to happen on the ensuing play, whether it's a stolen. I mean, when the lad and I were out in Sacramento, we only saw one stolen base, but it felt like we saw more just because they were so aggressive on the base pass.
Well, and one of the other things that I can't, this might have been during the athletic series, but being that active on the bases and stopping a double play at the flip at second base to keep the inning going and then scoring runs after. I mean, and it's happened a couple, I think 2 or 3 times where they've beat out a double play at second base because the guys were actively moving during that play.
Yep. I honestly thought this. I was going to say something about it to Ron, and then I was just like, no, I'm on vacation. There have been times where I've been watching the Cubs running wild on the bases, and I kind of felt like, man, I'm watching the 1982 Cardinals again. This is fun. I love this.
82 or 85? I mean,
82 is the first time that I saw a team running wild on the bases like that.
Fair enough. You are a little bit older than me. I don't know if I cared in 1982.
Yeah, I was 9. So yeah,
I didn't wake up till 85, which is very convenient. It would have been more convenient if I'd have been paying attention in 1982, I guess. But I'm trying to get a tried and true A's fan on the call with us. Like a true A's fan. We'll see if he.
Well, I will tell you, and this might be our segue into it anyway. Since I kind of already
a hold for to see if you had your boots on the ground report.
Sure.
Is it Sutter Home?
Yeah, Park? Sutter Home. No, Sutter Health.
Sutter Health. Sorry,
Sutter Health Park. But Sutter we can wait.
Sutter Home is a wine, I believe.
That's right.
That's correct.
Right.
Not a good one.
No,
but it is a wine.
If Ron knows the name of the label, it wasn't a good one.
You could probably buy it at a gas station. That's
now. I got to tell you, a rarity. Might have mentioned. I don't know if I mentioned on here or not. It is hard to find Blanton's here in North Carolina, like next
really.
Week. And this is the only silver lining with what's happening in the macroeconomic world and the world of tariffs, which I deal with every single day of my career. Maybe the only good thing is the fact that Canada might not be buying a lot of our whiskey right now. It is more available to me in North Carolina. So I was able to actually find a bottle of Blanton's in an ABC store and bring it home. And I thought that was wonderful.
Well, see, you can find a silver lining in everything.
Yeah, I don't really like the silver lining that much, but I will.
All right. So moving on, before we get to the boots on the ground, I'll give you guys an A-B choice. Do you want to talk about the passing of Octavio Dotel or about Vladdy's big payday?
Let's talk about Dotel.
Okay. Well, yeah, because there's a little connection because he did
Cardinals
pitch
history.
with the Cardinals.
He did pitch for the Cardinals.
For those of you who missed it, definitely don't party in the Dominican Republic with baseball players. This is not the first time, and apparently it's not going to be the last time that former major leaguers have either been killed, arrested, shot. Like, just stay away from the DR if there are major leaguers around, because good things don't happen. But it was him, I think, Nelson Cruz, Nelson Cruz's wife. I don't know if Nelson Cruz passed away, but I know his wife died. Octavio Dotel was pulled from the rubble of a collapse of a roof in a nightclub, and he died on the way to the hospital. Like, not good.
Terrible.
Yeah, that's any news coming from out of there, obviously, you know what it brings me back to, and that's Oscar Tavares, right? That whole incident in 2014, which was, that ripple effect was felt for years, and you could argue to this day that has created a ripple effect in the organization. Certainly not the only reason for the Cardinals' woes as of late, but that was if you walk it back, what's happened to St. Louis, that'd be one of the perhaps key events that would have taken place that would have shaped what the Cardinals looked like in the back half of that decade, and even into today, perhaps. So, brings me back to that time. And Dotel did play for the Cardinals, and he had a short but successful run. I don't know if he had any Cubs time.
He played for, I believe it was 14 major league teams. But no, he did not spend any time with the Cubs. He did spend time in Chicago, though, because he was part of the 2008 White Sox.
Okay. That might be what
But I think, I know for me, and I would imagine for you guys too, probably where he first really made his bones and where most people will remember him was I think it was 4 or 5 seasons that he spent with the Astros, when I was looking at it, trying to refresh my memory, when they basically had 3 closers at the back end of their bullpen. They had Octavio Dotel, Brad Lidge, and Billy Wagner.
Oh, geez, yeah.
All in the same bullpen.
That's right. Yeah. That was and Dotel, he had a one of those live arms, right? I think it took him a while to kind of figure control out.
Yep.
But when he was on, he was very effective, and he reminds me so much of one of my favorite Cardinals relievers, and he played for the Cubs too, and that's Julian Tavares.
Yeah.
He had a pretty good run with the Cardinals too.
He was always ready to take the ball. 5 days in a row, that's fine. Give me the ball. I'll take it.
He'd put his arm around the umpire, get a warning.
Right.
Shit on the bill of his hat, didn't matter.
Yeah.
But those are the personalities you miss. I know some of them still exist now, but those were guys that might annoy you when they're not on your team. Then all of a sudden they get on your team. You're like, I kind of like him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally like that.
Yep. 100%.
All right.
Elliott, any Octavio Dotel memories, or just
nope?
Elliott's all in his feels tonight.
Yeah, he is. He's very sentimental. All right.
So moving on to the next one. Vladdy got paid
big time.
14 years, $500 million. It'll take him through his age 40 or age 39 season. And of course, well, go ahead, Ron. You obviously have thoughts.
I do. But I think a fun game would be predicting who he's going to actually be playing for. Oh, here we go.
Hey,
we'll Scott. We'll get his opinion on this too. But I think a fun game that we can at the end of this Vlad Guerrero Jr. contract signing is who's he actually going to finish that contract with. I think that'll be a fun game.
Will he still be playing? Well, his dad played until he was well-aged, so he'll probably, if genetics are any indication, he might finish that contract out. It's just a question of
who. That's
who.
Yeah, right.
Because I would guess that if he's not playing for the Blue Jays, they'll still be paying for a lot of that contract.
Oh yeah.
Because when he gets traded, that's going to be part of the agreement, is that they pick up a significant chunk of the, 27.5 is that? I think my math's right. 27.5 million on average he'll be getting paid.
Not a bad payday, but
no,
it's not.
He's enjoy the locker room you have now, because
and no deferred money.
Amen to that.
This is not the Ohtani contract. This is $500 million in present day value.
I wonder how much shit agents are getting when they bring up deals like that anymore. I don't know. I don't know one way or the other, But I do want to introduce somebody who's called in. Hopefully he can hear us. Scott, are you there? Okay, hang on.
Question is, can we hear him?
No, well, he can now. He missed all that side of your conversation. Probably heard me talking in the background. But Scott, are you there now?
No worries.
I think I'm here. How are you, Ron?
Oh, we got him. All right, we got him.
Go.
So, little history on the guy that's calling in. So, I served in the Marine Corps with him. We had some times. He is the probably the only true A's fan that I know. He's also a little bit of a Padres fan too. That might be his second team, or maybe it's his first now that they're not Oakland anymore. But Scott is from Redding, California. I served with him in the Marine Corps. He was radio reconnaissance, a real badass. And now he's still out in California, unless I've missed news over the last 6 months or so. But he's calling in right now to talk to us a little bit about the A's. I'm not sure how you feel about him today, Scott. Not being in Oakland anymore. I'm not sure how your opinion on this has changed. Pete was just there last week to watch the Cubs and the A's in their new temporary home in Sacramento. So, how are you feeling about your A's these days? I think I lost him again. Hang on.
Is he?
He's there.
Because the A's. Hello?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you now.
Okay, I'm sorry. If you ask me how, thank you for having me on here, Nuts. This is an honor. I used to listen to your guys' podcast. I think it's fantastic. I did go to one baseball game with Nuts many moons ago back there in St. Louis.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
If you ask me how I feel about the A's, I don't feel about the A's because they don't feel about us. Like, the way that it all went down in Oakland was a long, slow grind, and we knew it would happen, but it just kept getting worse the whole time. And for Mr. Fisher to take the team to Sacramento was like the last grain of salt in the eye, because it's a win for him because the city of Sacramento desperately wants to be a major league franchise. So they're going to show up and they're paying for tickets and everybody thinks it's fun. And they like have this they're in the honeymoon period. So Fisher won again by moving the team slightly down the highway, making more money on tickets, and never really going away, but still being there, just rubbing it in that we're no longer in Oakland. And if you've ever been to Oakland, it was bad. It was like unsustainable, but that's what Oakland was. And that's like all the players have always been like the stadium. So it's just really sad. Like the Oakland fans will always love Oakland, but we just don't love what's going on anymore. And for them to go to Vegas, it's like, oh, the Raiders already left. Oh, ha ha. We've already seen this play out, but the Raiders did a good job when they left, and the A's are just doing what they do. So, and that little field is nice. Like, I've been there for the Giants, and there used to be the River Cats. That used to be the Oakland A's minor league team. It's a really nice stadium. It's just a minor league ballpark, but it's nice and it's fun. It's not let's go Oakland. So it's kind of sad.
So, Pete, we went through a few minor league games to watch a major leaguer rehab, and it's always enjoyable watching major league fans show up to a minor league park and heckle minor league players when a 98 mile an hour fireballer is mowing down single A players like you're out of college. But you went and you've seen a legit major league game now played in Sacramento. I mean, obviously a world of difference, but I mean, how different was it?
It definitely felt like a AAA park. It felt like a minor league park, right? Because there's no seating in the outfield. That's the immediate thing that you notice. The difference between a major league and a minor league park is that there's, it's just the fence. That's it.
Yeah.
So that was the immediate thing. Unsurprisingly, concessions were scaled back. It really felt, I don't know if you've ever been there, Ron, but Elliott, I assume you've been to a Kane County Cougars game at least once. He's got himself
Tennessee Smokies, Kane County Cougars.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, it feels very much the same, right? The concessions are all in the concourse behind first through third, and there's really not much else out there. So it did feel like that. It was a little disconcerting though to see a more consistent, higher quality level of play on that field. because you're used to when you're in that environment, you're not used to seeing things happen so quickly. You're not used to seeing the ball fly off bats like it does. Plays being that close, players consistently making the right decisions. So that was a little bit disconcerting. And even the lad noticed that. He said, this feels like a minor league game, but it doesn't look like one. And I think probably the most entertaining reminder of that was at the beginning of the game as it was about to start, all of the Cubs players coming over, walking across the field from left center field, because clearly the visitors locker room is not up to major league standards. And so they must have them out in left field somehow. Because they all came across. But the entertaining part of that was somewhere in, I don't know, the 5th or 6th inning, Seiya Suzuki clearly had to go to the bathroom, because in the middle of the inning, all of a sudden Seiya gets up and walks out with his interpreter and then a couple other members of the Cubs staff, and the 4 of them walk across the field from the Cubs dugout. It's like, wait, where's Seiya going? Is he out of the game?
So they explained it. The actual the visitors clubhouse is out there. It's not behind the dugout.
Really?
So if they need to go warm up to hit, they have to go out to the outfield to hit too. There is nothing behind that dugout for them to do anything. So what Seiya was actually doing is he was going to
he was not going to warm up to hit because the Cubs were leading and he was in the starting lineup. Seiya went to take a piss. I am telling you, Seiya needed to go to the bathroom.
So why did the interpreter go with him?
Somebody needs to hold it for him. He's a major leaguer.
Somebody needs to have his bank account.
That's true.
I mean, come on.
That's also true.
It is true. It is very true. Hey, Scott. So one question. Going back to Oakland. So clearly, they could have played it out in Oakland until Vegas may or may not. Guys, I'm still a little confused. I'm still a little fuzzy on, is Vegas a real done deal or not yet? I don't know. It's a couple years, right? That they have to.
I think it is. I think they've got 2 years left.
Okay.
Before it's ready.
Why not just finish it out in Oakland where all the facilities are there? Yeah, they might. They're obviously not top notch, but
Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, but my recollection is that the lease expired last year, and that it would have required a renewal of the lease, and there's no way that Oakland Alameda County is going to grant them a 2-year lease just so that they can leave.
That was part of it. And it was getting acrimonious with the fans and the ownership, and it was really falling apart. They weren't doing anything to make the club better. They weren't doing anything to make the Coliseum better. I mean, if they had a toilet out in left field in Sacramento, that was probably better than the toilet they had in the dugout back in the Coliseum, unfortunately.
I have to, because I think our good friend Chance has entered the YouTube chat. I'm not sure I should have posted this message to the whole group of ours, but he wanted me to recall, I didn't mention the Padres game we all went to. I'm guessing he means in San Diego. Oh boy. Yeah. So we saw the, of course I had to, because it was 1998. I had to go watch Mark McGwire as he played in San Diego that year. The Cardinals did. And, of course, I forced all these guys to go with me and then go 2 hours early so we could all watch batting practice. We ended up all buying our respective teams' hard helmets, the cheap ones you can buy at whatever souvenir stands available.
The souvenir batting helmets. Souvenir
batting helmets, that's correct. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, we're sitting up in the bleachers in left center field, pretty high up. We didn't make a lot of money in the Marine Corps in those days, guys. It wasn't, we weren't going to get green seats behind the first baseline. Correct me if I'm wrong, Scott. It was a steal attempt by Culvio Veras, thrown out at second. That helmet came flying out of your hand and just shattered into a million pieces against a rail somewhere in left center, and we evacuated that section quickly in fear of being ejected.
Well, I think that after it shrapnelled all over those families and they turned around and I was the only one without a helmet, when security arrived, I was the only one that got asked to leave. Well, I was the only one that actually got kicked out of the game. But I did make my way back in later.
Okay, so we just... Yeah, it was I'm sure I was obnoxious, all about my Cardinals at that point in time. And then they had the biggest bopper in the world. And it used to be a player for Scott's team. So I'm sure he had a little bit of extra venom behind that one, that I'm celebrating a guy that, was from a team that was, pretty much broken apart and sold off. So here I am, all excited when he's probably like, fuck you. That used to be my manager. That used to be my big bopper in the lineup. So shut your mouth. I mean, how obnoxious was I at that point about the Cardinals? I had to be pretty intolerable, right?
Well, I think we were all living our best life because we just had stolen the Marine Corps detachment van and loaded it up with alcohol, and it takes an hour to get there from the base.
That's true. I-5 is terrible.
All fine.
Yeah, I-5 is rough. All right. I don't know how many stories I want to say that can be captured online. I've always said, thank God cell phones and social media did not exist at that point when we were in our very early 20s, like it does today. So I think I might stop the stories there.
I don't know, Ron. I'd kind of like to have.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to hang up and enjoy the podcast at this point. I do love nuts very much.
No, it is always Scott.
Thank you for your invite. I really appreciate it. I mean, I do love baseball, and Ron's been a great friend, and that's why we were really good roommates back then in the Marines, and have been in touch since.
We've got a lot of stuff to discuss, but we might want to do that on a private channel at some point. But no, Scott, thanks I did want to get you in here since Pete had visited that ballpark, but I had some questions about just
that's awesome.
The feeling of an A's fan during all of this, I think is something that the rest of the baseball world doesn't necessarily get. Now, one last thing for you, Ricky Henderson. Passed away over this last year. I know that when we were watching those games, I believe he was part of the Padres organization.
He was a Padres there in the late 90s. That's right.
That's right. Now, I always remember it was 1997, my first weekend in Hawaii. The Cardinals and Padres actually played a real series in Honolulu, and I got tickets to that weekend. Didn't know anybody really in Hawaii yet except Johnson, and he's not going anywhere, right? He's going to get his a couple 40s, and he's hunkering down for the weekend. He's not coming out of his room. I didn't really know anybody there, so I went there. Met Tony Gwynn, by the way, on base. Got his autograph. I think it was a fan who jumped over the center field wall. Security slowly making their way to him, right? Because probably doesn't happen, I'm guessing, in Aloha Stadium all that often because you don't have a major league team there. Went up, gave Ricky Henderson a high five, ran over, got a quick autograph from Tony Gwynn, slid into second base with his hands behind his back, and they cuffed him right there on second base. So that was my memory. That probably the first time I had seen the Padres actually play a real game. But it was against Cardinals. That was a nice little memory there. Scott, I'm not sure you were in Hawaii yet at that point.
I hadn't got there yet, but I was jealous because I think I was really upset because you also went to a Padres game when you were in boot camp. So I figured you had double.
You're right. No, it was Marine it was MCT training. It was after boot camp. Okay. I did go to one. I forgot about that. God damn, you had to remind me of that. That's a lost memory. Tried to buy a beer until they carded me. I was only 19, I think. Damn it. I didn't look old enough. Got this baby face. Anyway, Scott, great.
Well, thank you for your time. I'm going to take this offline. Thank you so much.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us, Scott.
All right, that was good. That was good.
That was nice.
It was.
That's a true A's fan, guys. We may not be able to find another one.
Well, I'll give them credit. They showed up well in Sacramento, and I see that it would appear that I'm frozen. So
we can hear you. We can hear you just
terrific
fine.
Screen grab. They showed up well in Sacramento. Unsurprisingly, there were a lot of Cubs fans in the stands. Obviously Cubs fans travel well. But the A's fans were out. They were vocal, a couple of chants of sell the team towards the end of the game. They're clearly not happy. But I'll give them credit for making the drive up from Oakland to Sacramento in order to to witness, I guess. I don't know that I would necessarily say cheer on their team, but to at least witness things as a team. Because clearly, like, this is a fan base that loves the team. They just despise ownership. And it's unfortunate that they've had to go through this multiple times, right? That they've not had great ownership, right? It started with Steve Schott, and now it's transitioned to John Fisher. Like, it's a real shame that an organization that has had such a dedicated fan base and that also has experienced a lot of success in the last half century has to deal with this.
It is. And it's been heartbreaking. We've said it on here many times. Like, I can't imagine, what it's like if you were one of those people that went to, 2 dozen games and that was your thing and you love to do it because you live close to the park or whatever. Like, it's got to suck, man. It's got to hurt. There's another fan base that's pretty pissed too, and I've got a sound bite from that. It's about a minute long, but somebody took it. This is Bob Nutting of the Pittsburgh Pirates decided to go ahead and walk one of the concourses at the Pirates opening day. So it's just a few sounds.
I saw it.
Can I get a word, Bob? Bob, can I get a word? How was opening day for you? How you doing?
Anyway, just a little taste of what it's like at Pirates opening day. If you have the nerve, I guess, to walk around the concourse as an owner who takes a lot of money from Major League Baseball and TV deals and profit sharing and everything and refuses to put any of it back into his team. Now, I'm not saying anything personally about this guy. He may be the nicest guy in the world if you met him or had a conversation with him. He may be absolutely like gentleman and fine and everything, but there are a lot of people saying this is disgusting behavior by fans. And I'm sorry, I disagree with you vehemently. You put out an entertainment product, and if you run it poorly and you refuse to do anything about it, fans have every right to boo you as just like they do a player. Nobody threatened a life there. There's a chant like we want somebody to take ownership of this that gives a shit, that will be committed to making it competitive, to making it fun. You have one of the most beautiful ballparks in baseball that I've seen, and to refuse to put anything back into this team to make it competitive, to make it fun, to make it entertaining, it is a crime in terms of baseball ownership. And I for Pittsburgh fans and A's fans, I hope you guys get owners that you deserve. When these guys are eventually gone for whatever reason, natural causes, whatever it is, when they're gone and they turn the team over, I hope you guys get a team or a team owner that will give you guys what you deserve. And I throw Pittsburgh fans into that too.
And I would extend that to White Sox fans.
Sure.
They don't deserve what they've gotten over the last 40 years. And yes, I know they won the World Series during that time. Still, Jerry Reinsdorf has been a blight on baseball. That team should have been better in the 90s with Jack McDowell, with Frank Thomas, with Robin Ventura, Ray Durham, Ozzie Guillen.
Knots on his head and everything. They should have been better. I agree. Yeah, totally. You're right.
That team should have been much, much better. And it's because of Jerry Reinsdorf that they never did anything other than win the division and get knocked out in the playoffs. It's a shame.
I know the trend on Baltimore is a little bit different right now, Pete, but I'd throw Baltimore fans into the same boat.
Yeah. And I'm a Baltimore fan. Trust but verify, right? Things are going well now, but what's going to happen in a couple of years when the hard decisions have to be made?
Yeah. Yep. And what have they done in the meantime to give them the maybe a veteran here or there or a move here and there midseason that would make a huge difference because you're in a tough division.
And what makes that difficult, and this actually kind of segues into the Cubs, is when you develop a reputation like that, players don't want to go there. And we know that, and that's the thing that that's always frustrated me in watching fans' discussions of the players that we should sign. That conversation, it always drives me nuts because it takes away, because you know what? You've been playing too much fantasy baseball. And you think that all you have to do is just keep adding zeros to the contract and eventually the player is going to come. That's not always the case. And obviously it's front of mind right now with Kyle Tucker, because there are all these people who have their panties in a bunch because they're like, why aren't the Cubs doing more to extend Kyle Tucker? And they have to do everything that they want to. Hey, look, even before Vlad signed his big contract, do you blame him for not wanting to talk about an extension? It doesn't matter if the Cubs call up Scott Boras and say, Scott, we want to offer Kyle 15 years and $750 million. If he thinks he can beat that in the market, he's not going to take it.
No, and you knew who you were trading for. You knew who his rep was.
Right.
And that's not what Boras does. He will take that guy to free agency.
That's
He's
right.
going to do that.
And so you're wasting all of this energy and vitriol, getting angry at the Cubs when there is no indication, and this extends to other teams. There is no indication that that player is going to sign. So then why waste the effort? Save it. Hope that he has a good experience here in Chicago and takes your offer seriously. But it then extends to teams like the Pirates, like the Orioles, like the White Sox. You may have the most competitive bid, and they don't want to have anything to do with you.
So this will be another couple of buddies of mine that are in Marine Corps Chatham have kind of chimed in here. We got one from Vegas named Pat Johnson. Chauncey was his nickname. From Vegas, but a Red Sox fan, if that makes any sense. I try to make sense of it for years, but he's a real Red Sox fan, all the way back to Oil Can Boyd, I believe, if not sooner. He says he lives in Vegas. I won't be an A's fan when they finally move here. That may be some loyalty to Scott, or it may just be he's a
Red Sox fan.
He said they suck for 3 straight years and they keep adding minority owners and still nothing. The Red Sox, I see them as cyclical, right? Like I don't. They're gonna not be there as one of the top teams for 3 or 4 years. You know, they're like since 2 decades ago, that's what they do. Like they're not going to be relevant for a few years. They're going to come right back and win World Series 2 out of 5 years.
Yep.
And they'll be on a down cycle again, right? That's just kind of how John Henry and that ownership group have been. But we'll see. It's a little bit different world than what they were competing in 2007 or 2004, 2007. That was a different time in baseball. Quite frankly, it was a better time in baseball. But the Red Sox will be back. They always are. I mean, they're not going to stay down in the AL East and let the Yankees get all the limelight for very long. They'll be back.
And that's one of the good things. I think it's one of the benefits of the AL East compared to many of the other divisions is that there are quality teams, consistent quality teams in the division who are on par with each other financially. I think that's one of the things that
except one.
Yeah. That's one of the things that the Cubs have kind of rested on their laurels on, is that they haven't leaned into the money because they haven't necessarily had to. But if there was a team on par with the Dodgers and the Red Sox and the Yankees within the division, I think they might be a little bit more inclined to spend money because they would feel like they had to do so.
Yeah. I mean, I think they always get to that point too. And I don't know who's running the Red Sox these days. I'm not talking about ownership group. I can't recall.
Isn't it like another wonderkind? I don't remember who it was after they fired Heim.
I don't recall the name. So I was going to look up. Here we go. So last thing I want to talk about.
It's Craig Breslow. Duh.
Okay.
Former Cubs exec.
So I'm making sure my year is right here. Anyway, I was looking this up the other day, and look, it's too soon, or it's too early. Whatever I said the title was going to be.
It's too early.
It's too early. I think that I was looking at attendance because I was just curious. Hey, what's attendance looking like across the league? Because the Cardinals games opening day looked packed house. It went down every first 6 games, and by the end of the Angels series, it was pretty scant. So right now, just if you're curious, St. Louis ranks 15th in attendance.
That surprises me.
That's not good. Aren't they usually like top 5?
Yeah.
Typically,
generally, yeah, they are. And you could say but we'll here. I'll throw all the excuses you're going to hear that I'm going to hear. School's still in. They played a lot of day games earlier in the year. It's still April.
It's cold.
It's cold.
It's cold. We had a freaking Category 5 tornado, whatever.
F5.
F5. Sorry, I was thinking hurricane. I live in hurricane country, not tornado country.
Don't blame you.
So we're gonna hear all this stuff, but yeah, right now they're like, I guess some places have them 15th. I got looked up the other night, and there were 17th. And granted, there's only 6 home games so far. Understand, but I expect all teams will go up a little bit as school gets out, weather gets a little bit warmer. It's going to be really strange if they finish in the middle of pack in terms of average attendance. And right now, who's attended per game, St. Louis is at 27,000. That's been the average so far in 2025 through 6 home games. I did look up road attendance too, and it's about the same. So there you have it. I mean, the fans are speaking now. Granted, we live in a climate right now that's weird. A lot of people are pulling back on discretionary income just due to economic uncertainty. Nobody's sure what's going to happen. People are scared they're going to lose their jobs. Things are going to be more expensive. I get it. There's all kinds of things here. My fear is that provides the ownership group with air cover as to why attendance is down, because they will take it. They do that every time. They will take whatever external factor, and they will give themselves plenty of air cover so they don't have to answer the question: are the fans just pissed at us, or are they in this level of apathy now where they don't care anymore? And as long as they have an excuse, that will be the excuse. So if we were wondering if any Cardinals fans are wondering how ownership is going to respond to attendance, there, you're going to hear it right there. Economic uncertainty. People are pulling back on discretionary spending. Don't worry about the big cities where, rich people live, where they can just, walk over to the ballpark. They're different than us. Pete, that's not me. I'm just saying that's the shit here. And I don't buy any of it because St. Louis is always, as a mid-market team, whatever you want to define that as, but as a mid-market team, they've always outperformed in terms of attendance. Always.
Well, and to throw it right back at you, and of course we can do it because it's in our backyard, the Cubs are outdrawing them by almost 10,000 fans per game. Same number of home games, similar weather, smaller ballpark.
Yeah.
And yes, I know the Cubs are playing better, but still, what is it? 13 games into the season. It's a little early to draw any conclusions about team performance leading to this kind of attendance. Cubs fans are showing up despite the weather. Cardinals fans aren't. And you can't just blame it on the weather.
No, you can't. You can't. No. I will say there's a little bit of proximity factor too, right? There's obviously a huge population around Wrigley, and maybe look, I could argue I'd rather drive an hour across the river to my rural community into St. Louis, and that's easier than jumping on a train and doing all this other shit in Chicago because it's a heavy population, right? It's not the easiest thing. You can't just walk over to the ballpark, guys. But there's a proximity. Like there's millions of people that live in that area that, they can draw, and in theory, right, it might be a little bit more convenient or easy for somebody to go over to a day game or whatever. Hey, if I'm going to get in my car and drive 2.5 hours, 2 hours to go see a ball game, that might be a different decision. But I get it. But I look at years past, and weather was shit 10 years ago, and attendance wasn't like this.
Yep.
But I think what's happened in economics right now, with tariffs, with threat of recession, with stocks being down, you're going to hear that reason, and it's going to annoy me. It's not means there's some truth to it, but you should see it everywhere.
Right. And you're not.
That were the reason, you should see that economic uncertainty.
It's not just going to happen in a bubble in St. Louis.
Right.
It would happen with every other fan base.
You said it more succinct than I did, but that's the point I was making. Like this is not just a St. Louis problem. It should see it everywhere.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe not LA.
Well, and if you look at the teams that are performing poorly as far as home attendance, you've got to throw Cleveland out. They haven't played a home game yet. You got to throw the A's and Tampa Bay out because they're both playing in minor league stadiums. So their numbers are going to be artificially depressed even more than they normally are, right? Like they're both averaging a little over 10,000 fans a game, which is just pitiful.
How would you feel about this? Tampa Bay. You've got I'm not even sure the acronym they're using for the A's now. It's like ATH.
ATH. Yep.
call it, if a round up, right, 10.3K fans per game, and you've got Tampa Bay 10 per game. You've got a major league stadium. You've got a state and a community that was bitching, whining, pissing and moaning for years that they should have their own team. Well, where are you people at?
Well, and here's the interesting thing though, Ron.
You
look at both of those.
Granted, they're playing at the Yankees spring training complex, which the seating is less than it would be at Tropicana.
Right.
But do you guys really think that the numbers would be that drastically different at Tropicana than they would be at the Yankees spring training facility?
Right. And the same thing is true for the Athletics, right? Like right now it's 10,000. So it is a little bit artificially suppressed by the fact that they're playing in a AAA stadium. But last year, I think their average attendance was like 12,000. So it's not that much down. But here's the embarrassing thing, Ron. The Marlins have a major league stadium and they're averaging under 15,000.
You're right.
And you can't argue weather.
The hell was that?
Good question.
Anyway,
but yeah, if you go up from the bottom of it, right? So you take those three teams out because they're just terrible anyway, and they've got bad ownership, but move your way up and you're kind of working your way through some of the more poorly run franchises. Fourth on the list, the White Sox, right? Then you've got Kansas City and Minnesota, but there's a big jump there from Miami to the White Sox. It's 3,000. Then it's another 2,000 up to Kansas City. Then another 3,000 up to Minnesota. And then things kind of start to even out. But Ron, as far as the rankings, they're a hell of a lot closer. The Cardinals are a hell of a lot closer to the White Sox and Kansas City than they are to, any of the teams in the top 10.
Yeah. And I'm looking at the Angels even, over 42,000 average attendance per game. So I guess maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but I am. San Diego's pulling in over 40. Yeah, that's the Schulte effect, I think.
That is. That's what nobody's connected it to. It's Mike Schulte.
Rooting for that guy like you wouldn't believe.
How do you not root for Mike Schulte?
You have to.
Yeah.
The Cubs weren't very nice to him, though.
He didn't deserve it. He hadn't earned it.
No, he didn't. All right, man. I think we're good.
I think so. Gentlemen, we've gone almost an hour and a half. Well, I mean, once we sorted out all our technical difficulties and everything, but I think that's it. It's good to be back on with you, gentlemen. And, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to leave a comment and subscribe. And if you want to help spread the word, please leave us a 5-star review and tell your friends to do the same. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. And we also regularly live stream on X, Rumble, Facebook, and YouTube. And of course, you can always find Elliott on X at
TOR_Elliott.
And Ron, are you there yet?
No, we're good.
He's not there yet.
We're good.
By the end of the season, he'll be back. Cardinals are going to do something, and Ron will be back.
I think I accidentally gave it out last week because I just wasn't just desperate to what's the lead out of here?
You were in the rhythm. Yeah, I was thinking about it as we were flying home, and I was like, damn, I'm going to have to rewrite the intro and the outro again because I got to add in the Radcast Network.
Well, yeah,
which we are happy members of.
We're happy members of, but I'm really not sure what that means yet. They haven't told us to say anything, but yes, Johnson. We'll have Pat Johnson call in one of these upcoming shows. Duke's been chatting on here too, so we got to get Dustin back.
Yeah, we got to get him back. He's got to be excited with the start of the season for the Cubbies.
Let's wait till the Cubs come back a little bit more to the middle of the pack before we pull.
What I would be interested in, Duke, just to prep yourself for your eventual appearance. I want to get your take on the Cubs powder blues. And the hat tip to to Chicago's being the home of the electric blues, because I know that that's one that you obviously wouldn't have missed. So my initial impression, they look good.
Well, let's get his take. Let's bring him on. Let's bring him on. Get his.
You were going during that time, but just a little kind of factoid from it because they had Crane Kenny on. I was not
gone. I was home.
Were you watching the game when Crane?
Yeah, I watched the game. I know what you're going to say.
Yep. They've sold more of the powder blues since they released than they did all of the Wrigleyville jerseys the 3 years that they had them.
Well, no shit. Those Wrigleyville jerseys were terrible.
Yes, they were.
Yes.
100%. 100%. I would not necessarily I know everybody went to the conclusion of, oh, the Cubs are making so much money. How about to the conclusion of those Wrigley Field jerseys look like shit?
True.
It was a bad design. Oh, and I know I put it out on X, but I just have to say it here. So proud of the job that I'm doing as a dad. We're sitting there in Sacramento, and the Cubs Gold Glover comes up.
Which one?
Well, the one that we're told clearly is the best of them because he has 3 in a row.
Okay.
He comes up to hit. He does absolutely nothing. And the lad turns to me and he says, "Hey, Dad, you know what? What's that, son? You suck."
Right.
He wasn't talking to me.
Yeah, I know what he was saying. One more thing here. The reason my phone was pinging in the background, as soon as Scott said he loves nuts, the guys just tore him up. So that's another thing here. And I gotta give another shout out because I recognized his name on here earlier. Tony Valdez. His nickname was Dirty Tony. We were playing that at some point.
Is that anything like a Dirty Sanchez?
Not directly, no. But we'll maybe define that for everybody in a future episode.
I don't think we need. Dirty Tony or Dirty Sanchez, because I have a feeling we don't need to define Dirty Sanchez.
I don't think we have to
for our audience.
This is a children's show, and Radcast may frown upon that. Anyway, all right, Pete, get us out of here.
Yeah, finally get in touch with us at any social media channel at Team of Rivals Pod or by email at teamofrivalspodcast@gmail.com. And with that, gentlemen, let's get out of here. It's been magical. We look forward to seeing you guys again next week. Bye. Have a great week. We'll talk again soon.
See ya.